Welcome to a Friday edition of What the Truck. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you're listening. I'm your host, Malcolm Harris. Thank y'all so much for being here on another episode of What the Truck. The title for today's episode is Freight Under Fire, and best believe it is going to be fire. I have two guests that are awesome. Kicking us off today on Deck is going to be Bill Catania. He is the CEO of OneRail. He's going to be sharing his thoughts on authentication, visibility, and resilience in an AI-driven world. And then joining me in studio, Money Man Michael Caney, the Chief Commercial Officer at Highway. We're going to be talking about adaptability and cybersecurity, double brokering, and all the gaps in supply chain and how you can protect yourself. So this is going to be an awesome show. Before we get into all that, today's show is sponsored by Descartes MacroPoint.
By shippers and preferred by brokers. Descartes MacroPoint is the industry's best transportation, visibility, and risk monitoring platform. Deliver confidence with real-time insights and automated alerts to keep freight moving and your customers informed. Less risk, more connectivity. That's Descartes MacroPoint. Visibility you can trust.
Every load matters when it comes to your reputation. That's why the world's top companies rely on Descartes MacroPoint for visibility and risk monitoring. Keep customers confident, freight moving, and operations in sync. Descartes MacroPoint, visibility that you can trust. Looking at headlines today, we're going to start and go back to Cali. Let's take a look at the port of LA, because this article I saw was pretty awesome, and it's talking about the port of Los Angeles. Essentially, the busiest U.S. port is obviously breaking records. If you are in freight, you have some inner workings when it comes to the port of Los Angeles. And apparently, data came out showing that a record for imports happened in Q2. So a massive surge of cargo moving through the port pushed volumes up to an all-time high. Essentially, what this means for everybody in trucking, shipping, and logistics, this is a huge deal. Big time, because more containers are coming in, meaning more trucks on the road, more warehouse activity, more pressure on every single part of the supply chain, specifically when it comes to the West Coast. So that's something that you definitely need to keep an eye out on. And as well as you're feeling the crunch of this and seeing more traffic at your terminals, this is exactly why, because the port of LA almost predicates everything when it comes to different ports throughout the country. The next story, let's look at California, but again, from a different perspective. All right. The DOT is taking on California's truck driver language rule. Out of Washington, it's sending a clear message to Cali. The DOT is punishing Governor Newsom over the state's truck driver language rule. Here's the deal. The feds say the rule is not necessarily compliant with federal standards and that this may have real consequences for carriers operating in the state. We're talking potential fines, operational headaches, and more paperwork for companies trying to keep trucks moving. Essentially, what's happening, this is a reminder that state-level rules can ripple out and affect drivers and fleets in a major way. Finally, some good news out of J.B. Hunt. Guys, the Q3 numbers are in, and they came in stronger than expected. Shout out to the good folks at J.B. Hunt. The company focused on efficiency, cost control, and it definitely has showed. For the rest of the industry, this is almost a case study, right? Because it shows how smart operations, strategic thinking, careful as well as costly strategy can make a real difference even when the market throws curveballs. You guys know we have had curveball after curveball, all year. Really for the last 2 years. It's just not, again, about moving freight, but it's about strategy, execution, and being able to truly understand what the landscape is and how to make the most out of your current situation. So again, those are our headlines today. For all of these articles and all the other information that you're looking for from us, make sure you're visiting FreightWaves.com. From all of our writers, they are doing such a wonderful job curating content and being able to put us in the best position to be knowledgeable and to be successful as well. So now, without further delay or just a further, I don't even know the word I was trying to find just now, but I teed him up again and on deck, and now he is officially on deck. I want to introduce again Bill Catania, the CEO of OneRail. He's going to be talking about authentication, visibility, and resilience in an AI-driven world. Bill, you're looking like $1 million today, man. What's going on?
So are you. I appreciate that. I'm sitting in Austin, Texas. Going to enjoy the F1 race this weekend, but right now I'm enjoying talking to you. So glad to be here.
I'm glad you're here as well. And Austin, they're just coming off of a win against Kaylee Nix's Oklahoma Sooners. So, Kaylee, I'm sorry, but I think Austin is very vibrant right now. So it's probably worn off on you.
It's an amazing city. I'm fortunate. I get to come here like 2 or 3 times a year for conferences and different things. And every time I come here, it's even better. And you can never beat the barbecue, right?
Yeah, you can never beat the barbecue. And I probably need to stay out. I've had a little bit too much barbecue. That's why my shirt won't button at the top. But
Me too. Me too.
oh, you are a mess. Bill, let's set the scene, right? Because AI fraud is not this fugazi. It's not like this imaginary thing. It truly is here. And
Yeah.
when I was speaking with members of your team and some contacts that I had, they were talking to me about the work that you're doing. And I really just want you to set the scene for our listeners right now. How real is this and how big of a threat is this and what the work you and your team are doing right now when it comes to the space?
I'll start with a personal story. So I go back 2 years, which in AI years, right? That's like a century. So 2 years ago, I'm standing in the office and I got a phone call and they were impersonating Walgreens and they were trying to get medical information from me. So they started asking me questions. Thankfully, I could kind of tell something wasn't right. So you know what I did
What'd you
to,
do?
to they asked me a question, and I think they asked me for my group insurance number, and I said swing set, banter, butter, deer, dog, feet, and that broke it. And thankfully I had some instinct on that. It just didn't feel right. But a lot of people get tricked, and that honestly is a great way to break a fake call. It's as simple as it comes, but the data model didn't know how to contemplate all those different things. And it became a very nonsensical conversation really fast. So what we're doing at OneRail, I mean, we see a few things happening. One, there's deep fake impersonations, and that's what I just described, where AI impersonates a trusted contact. And for me, Walgreens is a trusted contact. But what's happening in logistics is AI agents, bad guys, are convincing couriers to release shipments to transfer funds. That's something that's happening a lot. In other words, they're calling and pretending they're a retailer or a broker. We're also seeing AI generated phishing attacks. That's kind of an old one, and that's been going on long before AI, right? You can do that without AI, but with AI, it's getting a lot more sophisticated. And what's happening is they're deceiving couriers into providing sensitive information like login credentials or payment details. The third thing we're seeing is fake shipping documents, and that's actually causing a big problem. It facilitates double brokering schemes. That's the bad outcome, for at least one of the bad outcomes from that. And AI-driven social engineering. So it's sophisticated to the point where they're looking at your social graph. They're looking at all kinds of public data, and then they're utilizing that to manipulate couriers into taking specific actions like making unauthorized deliveries or changing payment instructions. So those are just a few of the things we've seen. We've been focused on this from day one. It's because we had a David Dashler. He was our first CTO. He's now our head of data science and AI. So thankfully he was already quite deep on the different threats, but we've architected the platform kind of from day one to have data security kind of woven into it. But that's what we're seeing.
Now, Bill, you are obviously and the rest of your team are on the front lines of last mile. And when it comes specifically to what you hear from your partners, when it comes to these voice bot impersonation schemes, what exactly are you hearing? Because I know if I'm like a young broker or a salesperson, I don't know how I would navigate out of that and be able to tell the difference. Are you hearing some of that feedback as well?
We are. It's funny. It goes back 2019, 2020
Yeah.
is where voice schemes really started, impersonation schemes started to emerge. And believe it or not, it wasn't as ill of an intention as it is now. It was really carriers developing bots to try to secure loads faster than a human can. It's no different, honestly, than you see day traders with huge pipes coming into their house, fiber, so they can trade milliseconds faster and manipulate the market. So it's the same concept. So they wanted to accept loads within milliseconds every single time. And what ended up happening was okay, they accepted the load, but they get more loads than they can handle, and then they just drop those loads and don't even tell the shipper. So what ends up happening is it emerges into a really bad customer experience. And that's really where the origin of this problem came in. So what we're doing is really implementing additional checks and balances into the technology, which we'll probably talk about more in this conversation. But it's not a one dimensional solve. You have to be able to triangulate data in real time. It's not much different than what the banks are doing, right? What they've been doing for a long time. When you're on a trip, let's say you're in Bermuda and you get a text, when you're checking out at a grocery store or something, and it says, "Did you intend to make this transaction?" That's not a one dimensional solve, right? There's many dimensions that are coming into that algorithm. So those are some of the things we're seeing, but that's the practical reason it started, and now it's evolving.
That was very, very, very well said. Now, Bill, old school methods like callbacks, I mean, they're not going to cut it anymore, right? I mean, this is literally evolving as we speak. And to your point, how is OneRail specifically rethinking authentication? To your point,
Yeah, it starts with authentication is not a one-time event.
yeah,
It needs to be perpetual, and it needs to be a living thing. And if you're just authenticating with passwords and callbacks, again, it's back to that one dimension versus many dimensions. So what we do, and that gets back to kind of making it a living process where we're continuously authenticating behind the scenes so that it's not weighing down the shipper, the customer, the courier or carrier. Again, it's triangulation of data, and it contemplates many different variables. So yes, password is still important. Yes, callbacks happen. We have a team of 70 people that do nothing but manage exceptions. But what's happening behind the scenes is very proactive instead of reactive. And by being proactive with how you can triangulate data and validate and authenticate, you can stay ahead of it, right? And ultimately, now, we spun up a data science and AI team a couple of years ago, again, that's headed by David Dashler. We're implementing models that actually are running in the background to prevent that. So it's not just a static triangulation of data; it's learning, right? So that you're fighting AI with AI. That's probably the best way to think about it.
fighting AI with AI. I love it. Now, talk to me a little bit because in this space specifically, I mean, we're always as companies looking for a competitive edge. Specifically, security speaking, why is that such a competitive advantage when you're comparing company to company, particularly when you're looking for like vendors or to partner with other companies?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, not long ago, about 4 months ago, we commissioned research with 400 shippers of all types within the retail sector. And much like Gartner, we developed a couple axes, right? One axis is a desire, not a desire, but a need for capabilities. And then the other axis is willing to invest. And it's funny because we found things like visibility and capacity and things like that. They need those capabilities, but they were actually lower on the quad in the measurement relative to willing to invest. The number one thing that was need and willing to invest was data security, privacy, cyber. It's amazing that emerged as the number one thing, but it's not surprising, I guess. So for us, ISO 27001 is more than a checkbox. It really proves to our customers that we're serious about data privacy and security. We're willing to invest in it. It's probably the biggest thing that you can measure is discipline, right? You have to be very disciplined to achieve that certification. And in this business, in logistics, trust is currency.
Absolutely.
You have to, yeah, no matter, right? If it's first mile, middle mile, last mile, air, doesn't matter. So ISO, my son Chris just won a pitch competition. He's in college at ECU, but he also lost a pitch competition. And he wasn't real happy because he won his first one ever, got a check. He was all excited. And then he lost. And I said, Chris, are you building a company to win startup competitions, or are you building a company to build a business? And that really resonated. And this is the same way. ISO isn't a trophy. We don't look at it as a trophy. We see it as a way for us to prove to our customers that we have discipline, that we are investing, in solving these problems and ultimately earning that trust.
Bill, that was very profound. That made me almost take a stop. I was like, wow, like, am I building a business to, win pitches or to, actually have a business? Now, you said ECU. He's, was that Eastern Carolina? Is that the Pirates?
The Pirates, yeah.
Look at me, man. I pulled that out of the dome. That's awesome.
Yep.
That's awesome. So walk us through the hidden data trail of a single delivery. Where are the weak points that most companies simply just aren't seeing?
It actually starts with search and order entry, as a consumer. So it starts on the consumer side with buying, sharing their data with a retailer or wholesaler. If you want to really kind of get deep on it, it even starts before that in search. Intent signals are actually part of the data set. So if you're implementing kind of a holistic omni-channel approach, you're going to contemplate search intent, and then order data, and then you follow that trail. Then there's the handoff to the retailer and the order management system, potentially the WMS, and then that handoff to transportation systems, whether it's a TMS, a solution like OneRail, and then all the way through to the doorstep. So it's really unbelievable how much data comes off of a delivery. 2 years ago, I posted on LinkedIn that OneRail did 15 billion data calls in a
Holy
year.
smokes.
Yeah, that
Holy
was 2 years
smokes.
ago. I don't even know what the number is now because we've grown 100+% a year a couple times since then.
Yeah.
But what the interesting question I posed was, where did the data live before? Right.
Right.
So all this data has been out there, right? It's in Excel, it's on paper, it's in people's heads, right? And what we've done is we've really worked hard to fix the gaps between the APIs. You can follow the trail of data with APIs pretty easily, right? You can breadcrumb that. But where it gets difficult, especially with last mile logistics, are the gaps, right, that are between APIs. So that gap could be in the warehouse, it could be at the store, it could be at a handoff, to a courier. It could be a courier going down the road 2 miles, parking and transferring that load to another courier, and then it's not tracked, And so there's a lot of things that can happen. And you just have to be very cognizant of where the leaks are, and it's between the APIs. That's where the biggest problem is.
Bill, OneRail, to your point, is known for its OmniPoint platform. How are you embedding protection at every stage within the actual platform?
Yeah, that's a great question. So honestly, we don't add a security layer. The concept of
Okay.
a security layer is a little bit static, and the only way that you're going to beat AI fraud and ill intentions is to have a fully kind of integrated and embedded capability set to fight that. It's kind of what I mentioned earlier, where it's not a one-time thing. It's not like, all right, we did this, we can check the box. It's in your DNA. So from the first line of code, we've been architecting for data privacy and security. And the reason, I have to give a lot of credit to our first customer, American Tire Distributors. I was exceptionally surprised. We got our first contract and they were asking for SOC 2 compliance. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we're not a consumer marketing company. So it was a learning for me, but I learned really fast just how vulnerable the shipper is, and how important it is to protect their customer, to protect them. So we, from day one, credit to David for architecting data privacy and security into the DNA of our company, into the DNA of our code, into the early code. And it's just something that's perpetual, right? So don't think of it as a layer. Think of it as like a fully integrated capability set.
Very, very informative. Now, Bill, this is my second to last question. So this issue is bigger than just one company, right? This is just
Yeah.
really one industry. This is humongous. What's the actual collaboration needed to stay ahead of these AI threats and to kind of keep that I don't like to be punny, but security afront?
Well, I'll tell you, there's a few things. I have to take a page out of my last company. It was called MDOT,
Okay.
and MDOT is part of the Inmar organization. MDOT was acquired back in 2011, and today it's powering like more than 50% of the digital coupon transactions in the United States. With that effort, I became, a student of the space, just like I have with logistics. And there was an organization called the Coupon Information Corporation, and what they did, they were a nonprofit. They were an industry association, and they were obsessive about investigating fraud in the coupon space, which was $500 million a year. It's not even close to what freight fraud is, right? But it still was a big problem. So the first thing I would say, a lot like, taking a page out of the coupon industry, where somebody's coming up and saying, look, I get a free Nintendo, and the cashier says, cool, and they scan it and it actually works because it's easy to do. And cross-industry collaboration is number one. Companies should be working together. They should be working together, whether they're tech companies, advanced carriers like a Roadie or a Bungie that have a technology platform under their solution, working with, hand in hand companies like OneRail, companies like Blue Yonder. There's a lot we can do if we can share knowledge. And that's what Coupon Information Corporation did. It brought together companies like Coca-Cola, Kroger, General Mills, sharing and creating a shared database around coupon fraud, which was mostly it was 100% paper. It's really hard to dupe a digital coupon. And that leads to kind of joint cybersecurity task forces, right? So there's information sharing, then there's actually developing cross collaboration task forces. So the first thing I would say is cross company collaboration. It's partnerships with tech providers. It's really, again, aligning, whether it's Azure, Google, AWS. They are very proactive. So it's more alignment around partnerships, to make sure that we're sharing the latest, greatest information. So our model is better than the bad guys' model. I mentioned industry associations. It would be great if like CSCMP would get involved and maybe have a certification program to train dispatchers, to train, really all phases and all categories of employment to understand how to identify AI fraud and have a certification around it. Couple more, regulatory and government. The more we can do to share data with the authorities, the faster they can also be preventive instead of reactive. And then policy advocacy. There's standards that don't exist in this space because it's moving so fast. And not only is logistics moving fast, all the development around AI fraud is moving very fast too. So there needs to be a bit more. It basically comes back to data sharing and doing something about it, right? And being preventive. And then the last thing I'll say is public-private partnerships, R&D grants, fraud prevention campaigns. There's a lot we can do.
Bill, whenever I think about a CEO title, everybody thinks Chief Executive Officer. I personally think Chief Evangelist Officer. You've been able to hop on this platform and share the story of OneRail and speak so fluently and elegantly about this. How have you been able to just get this skill set? Because truly, like, I'm really, really impressed, man.
I appreciate that very much. I don't take it for granted. It starts with one of my team members, Eddie Masika, who's our VP of product, heard me do an interview. I think it was 2 years ago, and he said, "You're really getting fluid in this." I'm like, Eddie, it's the 10,000 hours. There's the concept of to become really fluid and efficient around an industry, you kind of need 10,000 hours. So I don't know. I live it, to be honest. When you're starting a company and driving it, you live it. And when you live it, you become very conversant, right? And
Yeah.
I have to challenge myself though. And this is something that I, through my whole career, when I start to feel like I know what I'm doing, I become uncomfortable. So then, I'll be totally honest with you. I was nervous about this interview today, being very vulnerable here, because I've never done an interview of any type on AI fraud. So it caused me to dig deep with my team and then start to connect my own dots around it, right? Like, oh yeah, this is like that. And it's tough as the CEO as you scale a company. you can't be particularly expert in every single facet of your business, but you have to know enough about it, right, to have conviction and really be able to articulate it. So I appreciate that. I love what I do. This isn't a job. I don't know if I would ever want to work in another industry outside of logistics because it's broken, and not just broken. It just has to evolve so fast, and it becomes broken because of that. So I love solving problems, and this is really fun for me.
Bill Catania, CEO of OneRail. Bill, thank you so much. And you said you were nervous. Well, I could not tell one bit because you absolutely balled out today. So I appreciate you spending one of those 10,000 hours with me here on What the Truck, man.
I appreciate you. You have a great weekend. Love watching you, and look forward to seeing you in person somewhere. Maybe at the festival in Chattanooga.
Absolutely, brother. I cannot wait for it again. Thank you so much. That was Bill Catania, the CEO of OneRail. That was an awesome interview, guys. And I told you guys that was only part one because part two is coming up, and I think he is in studio. Is he? Oh, there he is. He's suited and booted. Come on up, man. My guy is joining me in the studio, live and in the flesh. Our Chief Commercial Officer of Highway, Michael Caney. Michael, what's up, man?
What's up, dude?
How
How are you, man?
brother?
Good to see
It's
you.
good to see you too.
Uh,
Are we going hats?
I do have a hat on.
Okay, then
I'm
I'm
just-
I'm doing it too.
I meant to bring. I see, but that's the wrong orange.
Are we doing this right now?
I had my horns hat, and I was like, I'm not gonna do that. But then I heard I missed it. I wish that I had my earbuds to listen to Bill's interview because I think there was some Austin and some barbecue.
There was.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, he was like, Austin's a fabulous town. You know, Kaylee Nix is a big Oklahoma
Yep.
gal. How you feel about Texas? Before we
I mean,
just
I'm
jump
from
in,
Texas.
like, how do you feel about the Longhorns, though?
I mean,
You feel good about them
it's good.
right
I
now?
mean, it's gotten better.
Okay.
Arch had a rough start,
Yeah, it's okay.
but it's. I mean, I love the Republic.
Yeah. Yeah. How's your day going so far, man?
It's going good, man. It's beautiful here in Tennessee.
Dude, it's awesome.
Yeah, fighting bad guys, but it's going good, man. But I get to take a break and come sit over here with you.
Well, I'm glad that you're doing that.
Yeah, it's good, man.
Yeah.
What do you want to get into?
Every organization I've been a part of, first off, and I'm just going off cuff here, Highway has been at the forefront of checks and balances.
Man, thank you.
Like, seriously, the work you and your team is absolutely outstanding. Can you kind of speak to the team that you put together? Because again, like, policy and procedures, like, if you're not using Highway,
Yeah.
there are severe ramifications, even up to like termination, man.
I think one of the things that Freight Tech kind of suffered from for a long time was just like startup culture.
Yeah.
Like, oh man, everybody in Freight's dumb. I'm gonna put together a pitch deck and tell them how stupid they are and raise a bunch of money.
For sure.
And I'm not trying to be pejorative to any startup founders, but there was a long time when I was an operator, like that's what it was. And it didn't really solve a problem. It was like a solution looking for a problem. I think the material difference in Highway is, well, it's me, Jordan, Mark Ford, Mike Hamill. I mean, brokerage leaders that spent 20, 30 years in the trenches.
Yeah.
And so for us, like this is like something we're doing for us, like for our friends, for the industry. Jordan was running Triumph Pay and saw the problem firsthand. And it was something we wanted to solve, like almost like at a heart level. Like this is just wrong. This is fundamentally wrong, and we can go fix the problem.
Definitely. You've said and been on several interviews, adaptability is the most important thing in cybersecurity.
Yep.
Why do you feel that way? Why is your position that way specifically?
Yeah, because fraud changes. And I wish I'd have had my AirPods to listen to the other. I can only hear half your conversation.
Yeah.
But the thing about fraud, and this is what I've been trying to talk to brokers about, there's never going to be a moment where we're like, hey, we're good. We're done now. And if you look at financial crimes, if you look at any other space where fraud exists, like once they show up, they're like, okay, we're here now. Because Malcolm, it's a business.
Yeah.
Like fraud as a service is here.
Yeah.
Like this is a business model. And so the reason it has to be adaptive is because you have to have a partner that all they do is think about where is the next attack vector coming from? Like the whole Gretzky thing, like don't skate to where the puck is, skate where it's going to be.
Love that, dude.
Right. And I know I'm from Texas. I know nothing about hockey, but
That was a great
the
analogy,
But the quote
bro.
rolls, right? And so it's like, you've got to at least try to figure out where it's going next, because fraud is a pattern.
Yeah.
It's a business. It's repeatable. And so you got to try to figure out where the pattern's going.
What are you seeing evolve right now, just in general, when it comes to not only what Highway's doing, but like, all right, like this is happening. I mean, I've been a part of shipment stolen. I've
Yep.
been a part of some lucrative operations and
Yep.
seeing like, all right, this is a huge issue. What are
Yep.
you seeing evolve right now in the game?
I would say two big things. One are the communication channels, right? So, and I think this is what you were talking to OneRail about.
Yeah,
AI is making it worse and sometimes harder because it's the same thing. You know, Craig and I have talked about this twice.
yeah,
When you go digital without KYC, you actually open more fraud
for
vectors.
sure.
We talked about this at the Freight Fraud Summit, and so there's this. We kind of came on the scene, and then and kind of behind us there was this like agentic AI boom.
Yeah,
And so what you can do is you can, if you're not careful, you can turn on an AI agent without any KYC procedures, and now you've opened vectors
for sure.
because you have robots either disclosing information to bad actors, or you have bad actor robots calling to impersonate. And so that's where they want to be. They want to go where we or another solution isn't, which is typically the communication channel. So it's voice, Malcolm, or it's the inbox. So I would say the other big thing is as we improve the digital hygiene of a freight broker, the digital hygiene of a motor carrier is very poor.
Yeah,
And so
I
if they
agree.
can get into the motor carrier's inbox, if they can even call a motor carrier and impersonate a freight broker, right? Anything they can do to exploit the digital hygiene of a motor carrier is what they're going to do.
Yeah,
The last one is the scariest one. The Like I said, it's a business, and so it's not, and it's a business that's not going to go away. They're not just going to be like, okay, we'll go find something else. So they're investing massive amounts of working capital. We're just talking business terms, right? Fraud is a business. They invest working capital into operating, into building credibility. So they want to operate clean. They will pick up and deliver loads. So one of the things we see in our tracking data is loads that we believe are double brokered
yeah.
that are not obviously double brokered because they're delivering. And so what the bad actor wants to do is build credibility. They want to operate in your network. They want to pick up and deliver the load, and then they're going to steal 20 of them.
Dog.
And so because they have more invested, right? Think about this. If I'm going to pick up and deliver freight at terrible market rates because the market is still in a trough cycle, I got to make all that back. So what am I going to do, Malcolm? I got to steal a bunch of stuff.
100%.
And I got to be really coordinated. And that's where like the pattern matching and the combination of how do they behave digitally plus physically, and how can you develop a pattern to tell if somebody who's trying to build credibility is actually a bad actor.
Can you put me on game really quick? Because double brokering, you've called them the biggest con artist
Yep.
like in all of the industry. What is the script or what is the terminology that like I or somebody who's listening, let's just say they're in early in a career in a broker
Yep.
seat and
Yep.
they're just working to just put profit in the system.
Yep.
What do they need to be on the lookout for?
Yeah. So one is a rate that's too good to be true, right? But we talk about, one of the things we talk about a lot in Highway is incentive alignment.
Yeah.
And so fraud needs three things to thrive. It needs anonymity, it needs urgency, and it needs the prospect of gain. And so when you're in the communication channel via voice or email, there's a certain amount of anonymity there if you don't have that gated really well.
Yeah.
And so what do they want to do? They want to try to build some credibility. They're really good at like, my friend, hey buddy, right? Like I don't have access to that inbox. Like
Yeah.
I just need to get my driver home. Like anything, dude, you did this. You talk to carriers, right?
Yes.
Like,
That's
so,
what I'm laughing
so they
because I'm
want
like,
to
yeah.
build like low amounts of trust, and they're just looking for one thing to exploit, one crack in the wall to exploit, to talk you into something. So sometimes they don't even want to book a load. They just want information.
Yeah.
They just want to know what's the pickup number. Hey, my driver's over there. So a bad actor will look on a load board. Everybody always thinks I'm talking about one of the two. I'm not. Loads are syndicated all over the place,
Yeah.
right? So you're working with the syndicator, they're blasting your loads all over the place. These actors have databases. These bad actors have databases of where vodka ships from, where copper ships from. And so if they see you post it, they'll be like, hey, I'm over at this facility. And they'll just sound like they know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Malcolm, if you're 20-something years old and you were in college last week,
Bro.
oh yeah, man, okay. Like,
Absolutely.
I just want to help. They want you to endear, like, help me out, man, help me out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you had a powerful line, no is a complete sentence. What's the danger in trying to help carriers pass vetting? Because it's happened all the time. I have even been a victim of like,
Yeah.
to your point, this carrier is so cool on the phone, communication is top tier, he's not in our system. well, man, like he sounds like a trustworthy guy. And then I'm sending in, my VP of sales office, like, hey, where is this shipment? Because it's now missing and you're on the hook and it's coming out of your commission
Yeah.
check.
So I'm gonna put two things together because this is one of the things we talked about offline. The no is the complete sentence and
Yeah.
the sharing of information.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll call you and be like, man, why can't I get in? Whatever. And you may fire off a screenshot of a rule failure or something in the rules matrix to try to help the carrier.
Right.
And your company doesn't let me in. But I can call a different company who uses any vetting platform, not just us, and go, oh man, I know what it is. It's this thing, and here's what happened. And what you got to do is you got to go in, just get your manager on the phone. I'll explain it, put an override in. And so they sound credible.
Yeah.
Anything to sound credible. And so the reality is, if you're a freight broker, like the incentive alignment, the one who needs to book the load to make the money should have zero visibility or say into what the compliance process is, right? And like, just don't set them up for failure. Like, don't even why would you do that?
Yeah.
It's like giving the sales guy the ability to sign contracts. Like they're like, I'm not allowed to sign. If you were my customer and you don't like my red line process, I'd probably sign it, but they won't let me do that, right? But you see what I'm saying, Malcolm? Like, it's just incentive alignment. Just don't be stupid.
Don't be stupid for sure. That is such a good term in logistics.
Yeah.
That's it. It's don't be stupid.
Yeah.
If it feels too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. You've warned and you just spoke to it again,
Yeah.
like of sharing too much information publicly.
Yeah.
Screenshots, tendencies.
Yep.
Why and how can we kind of prevent this in this space specifically, with again, I roll back to brokers because naturally that's where I gravitate towards too.
I mean, look, everything, it should be 100%. If you, like the guy to talk to this about this too is Scott Cornell. He and I did TIA webinar yesterday. And one of the things that I've learned from Scott that's true both in like how you implement a process and also like how you adopt our technology. Whenever we do an investigation or he does an investigation, the common thread is always someone decided to do something outside of the process.
Yeah.
Like almost always, Malcolm. Like I had a process, but I thought in this instance, this would be okay. Or the carrier, it's like the scene in the Hangover. He seemed like a real straight shooter. Like he's not a straight shooter. And so it's for carriers that want to behave transparently, it's very, very easy. Now, you are going to have 2% exceptions.
Yeah.
That needs to be done by a trained person whose full-time job is to have, the spidey sense to sniff those things out. That is not to be, the masses don't need to have the responsibility to go figure that out.
For sure.
Yeah.
So this is a loaded question and it's going to be a lot. Government involvement right now in the space.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts genuinely from your seat and what you're seeing on a day-to-day? Because I mean, this is your life.
All day long.
What are you thinking right now, man?
I really love Ronald Reagan, who said the worst words are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. But here's what I do think. I think about this in terms of like economic principles that are not new. So Adam Smith, Wealth of Nations, Invisible Hand, right? What Adam Smith said is that like the private enterprise is sufficiently motivated to solve problems like this.
Right.
But there needs to be, right? The role of the state is like justice, infrastructure. And so the state just needs to the government just needs to do what they should be doing. Like if I get another license in our system that's like no name given, what are we doing?
Yeah, for sure.
Like what, like there are rules. Map 21, like Malcolm, there are rules. We just need to like enforce them.
Isn't that crazy that somebody literally has a official document that says no name given in the United States of America?
And we're going to let them roll down the road with, 80,000 pounds just cruising.
And like personally, I believe, should everybody in America have access to opportunity? Yes.
Absolutely.
But there are parameters in place that if you do not know how to read a street sign, I do not think you should be behind a commercial vehicle.
And so just take it away from theft and fraud for a minute.
Yeah.
The same individual that's willing to go around the system to steal something or to commit fraud, they do not care about the motoring public.
For sure.
Right. So like if you're a motorist, this is also a public safety issue, public health issue. And so you're right. Everyone deserves opportunity. And that is the role of the state to make sure that the basic rules are followed.
I agree.
And let the private enterprise go duke it out over things like this. We've done it in finance. I am confident we are going to do it in freight. We're going to build a trusted exchange. We're going to have a place where people can show up. but the government needs to do the very basics of enforcing the regulations that already exist.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Now, again, a lot of brokers listen to this show
Yep.
just by default. What are immediate steps they can take to kind of harden their fraud prevention strategy and just kind of firm up what they're currently doing right now in terms of their day to day, whether it's emails, whether it's, I mean, sometimes via text, call.
Yeah.
What can they do to firm up some of these operational things that they're doing right now?
Two things. One is always start with identity. The foundation of all of this is identity.
Yeah.
And so when we think of identity, again, it's nothing's new under the sun, Malcolm. Like we interact with identity and access management. That's the technology category every day. And it's 3 pillars. 1, who's the user?
Okay.
2, are they authorized? And 3, are they capable?
Yeah.
Right. So you go apply for a loan. Like, who are you? Are you authorized to act? Like, do you have money? Can you pay the loan back?
Can you
Like,
pay it?
basics, right? And so the identity of a motor carrier is discoverable. The motor carrier can put forth that information. They can operate transparently. Start there, and then be aware that the who is what they're trying to intimidate in a communication channel. That's one thing.
Yeah.
And the second thing is the no is a complete sentence. Just zero tolerance, right? If you set a policy, stay to it. Risk lives in a matrix. Any of us listening could probably go get a credit card, fairly simple.
Right.
You want to go borrow $1 million, they're going to put you through a little more.
Right.
Right. Right. It's the same thing. Like we don't see bottled water get stolen, Malcolm.
No.
We'll say that gets stolen. What we see is copper, food and bev, right? Energy drinks. And so if you build, like if you work with us, like we will build you a risk matrix that's appropriate for the threat level of the freight and the origin destination pair. So don't compromise that risk matrix that you build, because it's you'll almost always regret it.
I agree. Now, just personally, F3, you going to be coming to F3?
Yeah, man.
Okay.
I live here.
I was making sure.
Yeah.
Surely you are.
Yeah, I think I'm doing a chat with.
I was going to say
Yeah.
things to look out for F3.
Oh man, things to look out for us.
Yeah.
Identity in motion. So there's we've been building this business for going on 3 years, and there's 3 really distinct parts to how we do it. We think of it as an identity business, where that's the core. There's a team of people that they don't worry about anything else we do. They just eat, sleep, and breathe identity and fraud prevention.
Yeah.
We think about our load business, which is how we contextualize identity to load level compliance, tracking, visibility, those things. And we think about our capacity business, which is the trusted freight exchange. And so what we hope to be able to do, every time I get to go on the stage at FreightWaves, I'm blessed enough to say, hey, here's what we did before. Here's how we've grown. And I hope that we're able to present kind of a really elegant future state of how we hope to solve problems and serve the freight market with all 3 of those businesses.
Now, the boys in the back want to know, are you Batman?
I'm not Batman.
Can you confirm that?
I can confirm.
I've never seen you and Batman in the same place at the same time.
Okay. I will say this. I do love the meme that is like, be yourself. Unless you can be Batman, be Batman. I wish I was Batman. I'm not rich enough to be Batman.
It's all right, because you're rich in spirit and
That's
rich
right.
in mind, rich in health. And dude, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Dude, thanks for
brother.
having me on.
This
man.
was awesome.
Okay.
This was awesome.
We gotta do barbecue.
Let's go.
Like I heard, but it's not gonna happen in Chattanooga.
I mean, I'm a chicken wing connoisseur here in Chattanooga. You like
Okay.
chicken wings?
Oh, dude.
Okay.
Every Sunday I buy chicken wings.
Oh, come
It's
on.
like after church, fried chicken, chicken wings. We go home like that's like every single Sunday after church. That's what we do.
What's your favorite flavored chicken wing?
Oh, Buffalo. I'm an old school
You're
Buffalo
old school?
guy. Yeah,
All right.
old
So
school
here's the
Buffalo.
real maker. You a ranch guy or blue cheese?
I'm a ranch guy.
I'm a blue cheese guy, and it's kind of weird, man.
Yeah.
I know that's.
Are you from the South?
No, yes, I am.
Okay.
But it's like my stepdad. I mean, we're very, very, very close. He's from New Jersey,
Okay.
and he used to eat blue cheese with his wings all the time. I just got put on it, and I haven't
Now
gone
you're
back
just
ever
on
since.
it. So okay, but do you get them fried extra crispy? Do you
Come
tell
on,
'em?
man. I'm from the A. Yes.
Yeah, come on, because like they come out and you're like, okay, you need to run
put
those
these
through the fryer. Come on, man. Like I need these like just like don't overcook them, but flirt with it. Get real close.
100%. 100%. And again, the boys again are making me. Are you sure that you are not Batman?
I'm positive.
All right. Well,
Jordan might be.
Jordan might be Batman.
Jordan might be Batman.
You're going to see the entire team at Highway at F3. This is just a reminder as well. F3 is going to be coming up next week. Make sure you are locked in. Of course, the 21st to the 22nd. There is not going to be a show on Monday because we are prepping for the best of the best to come at F3. So Get some rest in. I am your host, Malcolm Harris. Special thanks to Bill as well as to Michael. This is another episode of What the Truck. Also, I will have a cigar on deck after my Tennessee Vols beat Bama. See ya!